Hello, and welcome to the video. So today we're going to look at
Big Bad Barrie
and his wacky claims about microwaves and water. Okay, grab yourself a beer, grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself a cup of tea, Earl Grey, whatever, and let's do this. So, we're going to look at Barrie Trower. So we're going to start here on a website called TetraWatch. You may be asking why. Well, apparently, and I quote, in 2001, Barrie Trower gave a talk on Tetra to the Devon and Cornwall branch of the Police Federation. Such was the impact that they immediately sent for their national representatives to hear the same talk, this time in Exeter. As a result, the national representatives urged that the same talk should be taken to London to the main Police Federation headquarters. Right, well, an FOI request was put into the Police Federation, and there it is. This is their official FOI portal. This is FOI 00295 in regards to a lecture by Barrie Trower at Devon and Cornwall in 2001. Namely, this one mentioned in the article. So I did not send this, somebody else has sent this. So, and I quote, "Why was public and police services time and money wasted on a so-called lecture by a fantasist and pseudoscientist by the name of Barrie Trower in 2001? Why was there no due diligence and background checks made before letting this pseudoscientist and fantasist spout his rubbish? He is one of the figureheads of conspiracy theorists and YouTube scammers to this day." And the response from the Police Federation is, and I quote, "The Police Federation of England and Wales can confirm that it holds no data in relation to this request." Oh. So, basically, this never happened. So therefore, I'm not going to read any more of this section. Because they never did a confidential report, apparently, with Tetra to the Police Federation of England and Wales. Okay, he mentions there the names of 5 independent scientists he could recommend, but no mention of those scientists, which you would think in the TetraWatch website they would list that. So, who is Barrie Trower? He writes, that's interesting. He writes. Whereas this is said with a bit more conviction, but when he's describing himself, his past, his experience, it's he writes. Now that's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. That's kind of like taking away all liability if Barry's a bullshitter, right? Spoiler alert. Okay, in the 1960s I trained at the government microwave warfare establishment. Well, there isn't a government microwave warfare establishment. So generally you would have, in terms of radio waves, you would have signals intelligence, a radar operator, comms operator, and obviously these would be like comms operator, officer, SIGINT, officer, operator, etc. different ranks within the military and navy, as you would expect. But the kind of main one we'd expect, say, to use microwave, say for jamming capabilities or something like that, would be an electronics warfare unit, not microwave warfare establishment. So electronics warfare is very simple to observe within the military community. It's usually a big arse plane, a big arse boat, or something that needs a 10 kilowatt generator to power, and this is generally a jamming. So recently, you may have seen on the news that the Russia jammed Grant Shap's Boeing 737's GPS as it flew through Poland, and that jamming operation is still going on today. There's some suspicion it may be coming from Belarus and like big horn antennas or a directional parabolic or something like that. But anyway, that's a different tangent. That's your kind of electronics warfare, signals intelligence kind of role. This doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a government microwave warfare establishment. There never has been, never will be, sadly. There is research for military weapons and stuff, but nothing, because, yeah, let's face it, I mean, really. So, okay, moving on. I worked with the underwater bomb disposal unit, which used microwaves. Yeah, that didn't happen, and we're going to do an experiment to show why that wouldn't happen, because microwaves don't travel through water, I'm afraid. It's just a simple fact of physics and quantum mechanics. They just can't do it. And actually, an interesting video I have here, if we just press play and we can watch this, this is kind of Barrie's whole understanding of radio waves and water. He now presents to you, this is parts of his numerous papers that he's given a talk. Well, he's given a talk on HAARP 5G. Oh no, sorry, it's not 5G. That's a different talk. This, you get confused, honestly. Please like and subscribe, because it's a minefield going through all these videos. It really is. I mean, look at this. This is nearly 2 hours long, and I've had to watch all this to pick out little nuggets like this. But another side tangent. So in this, he goes through points, and it is about cellular communications, Wi-Fi, etc. He picks points and papers, and this is one of the papers that he chose. And now try and spot where Barrie's going wrong here. Just have a good think about it, and I'll give you a clue. One travels at the speed of sound, the other travels at the speed of light, and has a duality of particles.
Another study has been carried out on whales and published, and it's been in the paper, where...
I missed it there, but on the left-hand side of the article, you may notice you can rewind it back. I'm not going to, because the YouTube player here, because the video's so big, I'll end up skipping back 10 minutes and it'll be a nightmare, but yeah, keep going.
Waves, all sorts of waves are used in the oceans, underneath the oceans, for submarine warfare, and all sorts of complicated things. And the navigation system...
Can you see it? The top left of the first article. It's kind of hard to make out, but you can kind of understand what that might say. And it's not radio waves, is it? Anywho.
Of whales, porpoises, dolphins, mammals each, like us, will suffer. And they are being beached. And I rang the minister, our fisheries minister, to complain about this. And I will never forget his words. He said to me, "It's their fault for being in that part of the ocean."
As you have just seen, Barrie cannot distinguish between sonar, sound waves, and radio waves. He is apparently a microwave warfare expert, but thinks sonar are radio waves. Right, so let's see some more of Barrie's underwater claims. These kind of run across, or should I say run with the same narrative as his previous claims. They basically are his previous claims, but there's a little golden nugget in this one we can enjoy.
And it's not just bees. When I wrote the Tetra report a few years ago for the Police Federation, there was an article where low pulses, microwave and sonar are used under the water, and it was pinned down to whales and dolphins, and it was affecting, it was argued, their navigation system. And I challenged the minister on behalf of the police. I can't think of the reference, but it's in my Tetra report. And I will never forget the reply I had from the minister over this. And he said, "It is their fault for being in that part of the ocean." And I thought, well, if that is the level of stupidity we have walking around the higher corridors of Whitehall, then what hope is there for the rest of us? The military have something to answer. Questions have been asked in the Russian parliament over these new weapon systems, especially from the Americans, who have a super microwave weapon which can actually penetrate under the oceans and anywhere around the planet.
Can you guess where Barry's going with this?
It's called HAARP, H-A-A-R-P.
That's right, the old HAARP. Yeah, we'll get to HAARP in a minute, and it's not microwave signals, but let's go.
And papers have been written saying it is affecting bee populations and all other animal populations. Countries are protesting against it, but at the moment, the Americans do not seem interested. They are saying, well, it is there to study weather, and that's where it's staying. But we are not alone with our mobile phones if you have one, or transmitters. The military have jumped on this, and this is what we are trying to curb back on. One person here, and this is one of 3 papers I have actually plotted where the mobile transmitters have gone, and they have also plotted the demise of the bees and the animals following. One paper that was written and published in the Australasian Journal of Environmental Medicine, they took Estonia, the country Estonia, without any mobile phones.
Right then, so shall we see these microwave frequencies? Now bear in mind, microwave frequencies are in the gigahertz range. Should we see what is coming out of HAARP, which you at home with an SDR radio and a loop antenna, or a balloon and a big long stretch of line, or if you're struggling for space, a quarter wave antenna, can listen to, and also view on a spectrogram as well. You ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to HAARP. Come down, we can see the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program is a University of Alaska Fairbanks program which researches the ionosphere. Now, all attribution and credit to Luis Acosta. This is the HAARP signal on December 27th, 2022, and that's the times of the transmission. And apparently this is bouncing signals from asteroids. I'll just scroll through and you can read that. This is the equipment that anyone can buy to do this, and you can yourself. listen to HAARP. And there it is. It's not microwaves. So, as you can see there, that was not microwaves. That was in the kilohertz range, around where ham radio is. So, HAARP isn't a microwave weapon. As you can see, the type of research they've been doing with that is bouncing signals of asteroids, Jupiter, the ionosphere. It's literally a university in Alaska doing experiments with students. Now, you would have to be stupid to think that the students that attend that university would not put their hand up in the air and scream from the mountaintops that there was a conspiracy or there was some kind of weapon. And Barrie also mentions there that this apparently can go through the oceans. Well, technically, because of the length of the wavelength in the kilohertz range, yes, it can. This is how subsea communications happen between surface ships and submarines. But not microwaves, I'm afraid. Not microwaves. The dielectric constant of water is just too strong. Okay, so here is some more water madness with Barrie.
The lady doesn't know she's pregnant from that stage up until 6 to 8 weeks, when she goes to the GP and the GP says, congratulations, you're pregnant. So in those 6 to 8 weeks, she's not taking any sensible precautions that she would take had she known she was pregnant.
Yeah.
But that is the most dangerous area for the zygote, is those 6 to 8 weeks, because it is the size of the 5G waves, and the zygote, being in fluid, is wet. And anyone that studied physics will know that if you have an electrical conductor, as people are, if you have an electrical conductor that is the size of the wave, it will act as an aerial.
So the electrical conductor is the water?
No, the electrical conductor is the baby.
Oh, the baby itself?
Yeah, because
the fetus.
The fetus.
The size of the fetus at that time. Yeah.
Because it is the zygote, which is called the size of the fetus or the embryo. That is the conductor, but it gets worse than this. Anybody who knows aerials, the microwaves are the same size. So in other words, the baby acts as an electrical conductor. So the microwaves go into the baby acts as an aerial, and then the current goes to ground through the mother. So the baby is a personal receiver of all the microwaves going through the mother to ground. But the water is a very good thing you brought up. The water, because water, people don't know this, but I think it was 1745 it was known. Water acts as a battery. The very first batteries were made out of water. So you've got the water storing charge within the womb, and the baby acting as an aerial to pass this charge down through the mother. And we reckon the miscarry, stillbirth, genetically damaged child rate will be within 2 generations, because it's hereditary. There's only 1 in 8 children will be born healthy.
Right, So that concludes our Big Bad Barrie and his water-based madness. Okay, so you know what we do now? We experimentally debunk his claims. So, 3, 2, 1, roll, make a montage. Right, well, that was fun, wasn't it? So a little explanation of what just happened there. I just thought I'll do a build montage. Say me describing too much software and whatnot. You can see it for yourself. On the machine, it is wrote in Java. And we also use a library called J3Chart as well. So, we have microcontrollers on both of these. I've coded both of the instructions inside there. This is our signal generator controlled by our microcontroller. This is the battery you would have seen me make in the video. Just a little up converter there just to bring it up to 4.7 volts. It's at 4.2, it'd power it, but it's just nice to have that extra bit of oomph to it. So, and the beauty of that is, where the bloody hell did I put it? Okay. There it is. Get it. So the beauty of this, and the way I've designed it, is it will go into a lithium-ion charger. I've tested it, there's no crazy voltage spikes going on or anything, it charges just fine, so that's excellent for that task and purpose. Also, we have our receiver board. This is 0 through 10 gigahertz, this receiver. Just also do is just pass that and it converts it into a reasonably short number. My computer program can then use the logarithm I wrote in the algorithm to read the data, and that just sends that via serial. Dead easy. I have a speaker. The speaker runs off this LM386 op amp. So basically it's an amplifier circuit there. I have a transistor, a 222 transistor there as well. So that's like the pre-amplifier into this, which then amplifies the sound through the speaker. You would have heard this on the RF meters out there, like the field strength type meters and that. And all that is just I'm going to use this to debunk the RF meters as well, so that's just gives a sound relative to what they put out. So, but anyway, that's a different video and a tangent. So yeah, so we're going to use that receiver. One moment, please. So what I've also done is we have an antenna in this old action cam waterproof container. I've just used some shrink wrap and a grommet inside there, and then just tightened it through. Just your standard kind of BNC fixing. And obviously that goes then to our receiver. That is submerged in the water and can be moved back and forth. The actual signal generator itself goes into this box in however I decide to do it, and obviously the battery goes in as well and all gets connected, and then we close that, submerge it, generate our signal. Dead easy. The other part of the video, what we're going to use as well, is obviously this just as a receiver, and then use the signal generator, but the receiver is going to go under a bag of water, and that's going to replicate a pregnant woman or a fetus growing inside of a woman, even though the water actually is a lot less attenuating than, say, the flesh, the fat, and all the other molecules that would get in the way of microwaves and whatever. But you'll see that as the video goes on. So yeah, that's what just happened there, is we created our articles to do our material under test experiments. Namely, in this video, it's going to be water as the material we're going to test, and obviously probably testing Barry's sanity at the same time. Okay, so let's get on with it, shall we? Right then. So what we've got here is our signal generator and our receiver. So I'm just going to separate them a bit there. Right, and we're going to start this up. Okay, so the purpose of this test is to debunk the claim that Barrie makes about water, basically. So Barrie claims that microwaves are used. He used microwaves in the Navy. Well, microwaves don't travel through water, as we are proving here. Barrie also claims whales are affected by microwaves. The American government has a microwave weapon they use in water. So you can clearly see the noise floor there. The particular receiver I'm using there, the Analogs Devices chip on that, will not go below negative 65 decibels. And as you can see, this is not moving below or above the noise floor. The noise you see is probably through the coaxial cable that's running out of the bathtub. And you can clearly see there is no change. There's a blip there, but I think that might have been because I yanked on the cable which pulled on the unit. But yeah, there is no change whatsoever. The camera is mounted right on top of the unit as well. Yes, so no change. Microwaves do not travel through water. Well, from our previous test, you can tell that the dielectric constant or relative permittivity of water completely attenuated that signal. I was running that receiver right the way up to the transmission source, and there was no change in the noise floor. So microwaves underwater, up to now, for our tests, is 50% debunked. We're going to work on the next 50% of Barrie's claims, which is surrounding the kind of gestation period of a human being within the mother's womb, and how the water inside the womb is somehow a conductor for radio waves, and the embryo inside can receive those radio waves. So what we're going to do now is we have our little bag of water. We're going to put it over an antenna. You'll see probably a bit more in the noise floor here because below that bag of water is just basically floorboards. So any microwave signals coming underneath will be there. So that's something we can't escape. But the actual transmission from our signal generator will be obvious and evident at the same time. I'm assuming the noise floor, there won't be much difference in decibels there, but okay. So let's get on with the next part of the debunking, shall we? Right then. So we have our RF detector there, little antenna, got a bag of water, about 2-inch thick. Obviously, just a bit of a cloth in case things go wrong. Here we have our antenna for our signal generator. It's going to generate our 2.4 gigahertz signal, which is there, ready to rock and roll. Software is ready to go to read the data off that guy. Right then, let's do it. The antenna is there, underneath that protective blanket, just in case it leaks. I can quickly get my gear out. That's there. Else we see it. Cool. Signal generator is going. As you can see, powering that. That's a very powerful antenna as well. Right then, leaning over all this crap. Connect. Did it go? No, it pressed the screen. Right, cool. That's going. Excellent. As you can see, well, obviously I'm putting in OBS as well, but well, quiet. Hi there. Right, so what I'm going to do is just get our water over our antenna, like so. Yep, and straight away, see that's dropped off massively. Massively dropped off. This particular RF reader, that only goes down to minus 65 dB. And obviously you'll see it in OBS now, we are roughly at the noise floor. So if I disconnect my signal generator, obviously it's going to get a bit more noisier. Yeah, so that water is attenuated off that signal, as you can see by the screen recording of the RF power software I wrote. Cool, right then, let's just get our signal generator back on. Cool, she's fired now. Right then, so remove our dielectric constant, or should I say our pregnant lady's bump, and straight away we're up. Yep, we're back up. And what we can do, let that run for a few more seconds. And now we shall unplug our signal generator again. 3, 2, 1, now. As you can see as well, now we've removed the dielectric constant. Our signals are picking up from Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, other communications. You see that there. This particular signal power meter reader, doof, that is 0 through 10 gigahertz, so getting quite a lot of different things on that. 5G, 4G, 3G, all the Gs basically. Yeah, if we re-put our signal generator back on, as you can see, we go straight up. Pretty much right up there. Yeah, and we're just holding that noise floor high now. And again, we get a dielectric constant of water. So this is only a few inch thick, and you know, it simulates, say, a pregnant lady, and to be fair, that's probably about the thickness of just flesh and body fat. And if anything as well, because it's not as dense as fat, although, you know, your body is 70% water, obviously, it's probably got a lower dielectric constant than if there was a layer of fat on top of that as well, and a layer of skin. But yeah, as you can see on the screen, we're back to the noise floor.
Right, so what have we learned from this video? We have learned that microwaves don't travel through water. We have also learned that a misguided human being, or potentially, I'm alleging here, I'm not saying this may be or may not be the case, a person like Barrie Trower, a misguided human being, is setting out to deceive the public. Namely, in the case of radio waves. Because everything that Barrie says about radio waves does not correlate to science. So, take a Wi-Fi signal, for instance. At the very highest power density, we are about 100 milliwatts. And that's the highest power density, and that's usually reserved for 5 gigahertz. 2.4 gigahertz is usually 10 to 50 milliwatts. And that, even at a very small distance, is not capable of doing any significant... In fact, what am I on about significant? It will not do any damage whatsoever. So, you're sat at home maybe now, or out and about in a temperate climate. Let's say room temperature. The infrared photon energy you may or may not be sat in right now is around about 2 to 4 electron volts. It's photon energy. So let's say 5G at 3.6 gigahertz. Well, that would be, or the electron volts or photon energy would be 0.000000135 for 5G. To put that in perspective, ultraviolet is greater than 100 electron volts. No decimal places, 100 electron volts, and that is at the acceptable exposure range of the ultraviolet you may or may not come into contact in work or in general, and I think in a workplace it's actually higher than that. The acceptable kind of limit you would be exposed to. Sunlight can be in the in the mega electron volts range, MeV. It can be so high and cancer causing. So generally when you get above 10 electron volts, this would cause what's known as photoionization. This is where the electrons in the atoms in your molecules begin to elevate above their ground state. Now, the good news is electrons want to revert to the ground state very, very quickly. And even better news is all the molecules in your body are travelling around at the speed of sound. So there is no physical way that there can ever be a photon incidence, or the incidence of a photon can never ever be on the same molecule at any one time. The only problem with that is if you like to sunbathe, is it won't just be those few instances of the photons, it will be a consistent top-up. And the consistent top-up will be backed up by the thermal energy in your skin from the infrared rays, and this may or may not cause cancer. But, radio waves will not do that. Will not do that. Now, there is a cause for concern when it comes to the amplitude of radio waves, not the photon electron volt intensity as your frequency gets higher, but the actual amplitude. And again, in radio waves, that's only going to cause heating. For it to cause cancer, we're talking kilowatts. Now, there is if you want to Google this, you can do. I'm not going to put it in the video, but there was a few radar operators years and years ago who stuck their head in front of, I think it was like 4 or 5 megawatts radar dome, and they stuck their head in front of it to prove a point. Google that. It could be an urban legend, but I'm sure it happened. Or is this a Mandela effect? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. So, yeah, don't be scared of Wi-Fi. Don't be scared of 4G, 5G, 3G, whatever. Now, I can basically do a very, very simple power density calculation. So, right in front of me, just there, I have a pretty beefy Wi-Fi that's attached to my server, and basically my entire home's network is run off this, as well as my server, my computers, everything is run off this one particular point. So what I have here is my scientific calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate what I'm being exposed to right now, and this is a basic power density calculation. I'm going to calculate what I'm being exposed to right now by my Wi-Fi router. My Wi-Fi router also contains a 5G backup as well. So if my my network goes down, my server will stay up. Okay. So let's give it the benefit of the doubt. It's running 2.4 gigahertz, so it's going to be between 10 and 50 milliwatts, but we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt. So we're going to say it's 100 milliwatts, and then we times that by, it's got a 8 decibel antenna on top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say 4 times pi, and then we're going to times that by the distance. Now this is in centimeters, so I'm approximately a meter away. So we're going to say 100 centimeters squared, and what I'm being exposed to a meter away from that is 0.006 milliwatts per centimeter squared. And I'm literally sat right on top of this, which is perfectly safe. And I know that puts out 100 milliwatts maximum, because I'm a technical guy and I actually installed the Wi-Fi router inside of it. I own basically a custom firewall, and a custom system for my home, and I installed that, and I know what the power is for that because I work with RF comms. That's my job. So, boo-hoo, that's the case of it. And that is the power density I'm being exposed to right now at this distance. So we can even go, okay, so let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 centimeters right on top of it. That's still 0.6 milliwatts per centimetre squared. See, even at 10 centimetres, which is over here. So, I'm sorry, scaremongers like Barrie Trower, who don't tell you this, don't give you the science, don't give you the math, and you can do this calculation if you want to. In fact, if you reverse this calculation, you can actually, if you go out with, say, one of these meters, I wouldn't do one of these meters, but with a spectrum analyzer, say, if the spectrum analyzer won't do this already, but you can reverse this calculation, and basically you can work out from the power you receive at, say, 40 meters or whatever, you can work that out what the, say, 5G tower is putting out by that same calculation, just reversing it, just working backwards through it. And that's at 10 centimeters, and it's still 0.6. So back to 100 centimeters, it's 0.006. Now, this is what these people won't tell you, is RF, inverse square law, attenuation, the very molecules just floating around. It gets attenuated so quickly, so easily. They don't know what they're talking about. They'd rather you think that 100 milliwatts from there is 100 milliwatts back there in the kid's bedroom. It's not. Back there in the kid's bedroom, you can add another couple of decimal places to that. It's just madness. It's madness. And to put this into perspective, the sun, if I was calculating this very same wavelength from the sun, or cosmic background radiation, it would literally be, from the sun at least, a magnitude higher. From cosmic background radiation, you're probably looking at one more decimal place on there. And that's the background radiation. That's that thing, if you turn an old TV on, it fuzzes the screen. It's not that far. Before, if you watch back through the video, I was saying about the noise floor. That noise floor is cosmic background radiation. And you could clearly see, when I was doing the test on the floor, the cosmic background radiation was higher than what I was reading through that water. So, don't believe these people.